Hello. Welcome back. This is Interunited. I'm coming back at it, y'all, with another video. Today, we're going to be going over the La Plaza Nova scandal and also what's going on with the Juventini fans and what they are saying. By the way, guys, I know I haven't really made a lot of videos recently. I haven't been doing too much with my channel. That's due to a lot of technical issues as well as procrastination. And just in general, it's just, been a lot going on in my personal life, job interviews, and whatnot. But that being said, please take a seat, grab some popcorn, because this one, man, this is going to be a real interesting one. All right, y'all. So this is what actually happened, and this is what is actually happening. Regardless of what the Juventini fans, I think y'all just saw whatever the heck it is that y'all saw on your screen. It's just not accurate. Okay, Serie A is not going to go to the gutter because of what happened with Juventus. First of all, second of all, this is not the first time Juventus has gotten relegated. Or deducted points, but they've actually gotten relegated. That's a whole nother story. But what is actually going on with this scandal? Is this a real scandal? Did Juventus deserve what has happened? Those are the big questions, and those are the questions I'm going to try to get to the bottom to. As a Serie A fan myself, what's in the league's best interest is typically what's in my best interest as well as an Inter fan, irregardless of what it means for Juventus. So, if it's better for Juventus, I would still support it if it's still in the best interest of Serie A, regardless of the fact that I'm an Inter fan. So, what really happened? Firstly, the first thing you need to know is Juventus lied about what's called capital gains on their books. Now, this means simply they inflated signings for more room in the transfer market. I guess like one prime example of this is always the Arthur transfer or swap deal for Janik at the time from Barcelona. At this time, guys, they were going for, I believe it was around 60 million euros, right? Mind you, Janik was at this time, I believe, 34 years old. Ain't no way you gonna pay 60 million euros. So it just doesn't even add up, right? Even with inflation, even with all of this, that number just doesn't add up. Well, it turns out there's a reason for that, because it was complete and utter garbage. It just wasn't real. The numbers that they made for the books, those were hyperinflated. Therefore, when you deduct sort of the signings, so let's say you sold this guy for 60 mil, you buy another guy for 40 mil. Well, then that 20 million in profit would be written down as capital gains, meaning because of the rules in FFP, there's a loophole where you can actually spend extra money. I believe it might even be like up to 2 times that amount in the transfer market. So you would be able to spend like 40 million more. You would have that much cap space in the transfer market. That's kind of, from my understanding, how it works in that regard. But basically, what also happened is because of these again inflating on the capital books, the FIGC. Now this is like the head court in Italy for sports, like sort of decisions. They got together and they decided that there would be a 15-point deduction to Juventus and Serie A. This is the thing, though. This is like a head court. This is not like the American equivalent of like circuit court, right? This is, I guess, I don't really know if the people who watch me are American or not, but if y'all are, imagine sort of like the Johnny Depp case where he was proven to be, in the court of law at least, he was proven to be innocent of the charges afflicted on him. And Amber Heard was to basically, if she wanted to overrule her ruling, and appeal the decision, she had to do that through an appellate court and only on the basis that there was an unconstitutional sort of like something that happened so crazy that was so like unconstitutional in court that took place that basically the ruling was um, defunct essentially. The thing is, again, you would have to prove that something happened in the legal process that should not have happened. There's no other way around the actual ruling itself. This isn't an opportunity to appeal the ruling itself. So there's a lot of misunderstanding by Juventini about, again, how serious these charges are. Okay. So, for one, did they do it? Yes. Um, in fact, there's proof of it. And we'll get into that in a second. But for two, is the decision fair? Um, well, I would say in general, a 15-point deduction, um, in general, sounds about right for what they did. They're going to miss Champions League, but honestly, they'll probably be in it next year. Um, you know, in terms of like the amount of points, yes, it is true. They were only supposed to be deducted 8 points at first, or that was the prosecutor. So the people who were uh, sort of bringing Juventus to court, the people who pressed charges on them, they recommended 8 years, and then the judge gave them 15. Or, excuse me, 8 points, and the judge recommended 15 points. So is that fair that the judge wanted to take extra whatever out on Juventus? You could argue it's not, but honestly, I think 8 points is not enough. And I would think most Serie A fans would agree that we would just be sitting here saying, oh, well, Juventus are getting away with it again. And I think very clearly because of what I think it is what you're seeing with the Super League. Um, Basically, all of a sudden, UEFA and FIFA are like having or forcing themselves to sort of like adjust and try to at least act like they're being equitable to all the leagues and making everything fair for all the teams. Because when you just let these like super giant teams like Juventus or Byron, although Byron usually play by the books, when you let these teams sort of just have their way in the transfer market, it makes it unfair for everybody else, specifically with Man City, who's another team being investigated at the moment, which makes this video all more, important because, I get to make another secondary video to this if the Man City one ends up going to court. But again, you don't want these super giant teams just taking advantage of everybody else, because then eventually people are going to realize, well, if this is unfair, if FIFA and UEFA aren't going to do anything about it, well, I'll just run to the Super League. So that's why I think this is happening. But anyways, in terms of fairness, based off of all of that, I would say, yeah, it's pretty fair. Even if it's might not be happening for the right reasons. Again, I don't deny that at all. Um, I would say it's pretty fair. But again, if Juventus want to appeal this decision to the FIGC, they would have to do so going to the Court of Appeal at the Collegio di I'm not Italian, but just stick with me here. The Collegio di Garanzia dello Sport, which is the highest sports court within the Italian Olympic Committee. So basically, like you're talking like equivalent of like Supreme Court in the Italian sports courts. Like it's not, you need something again that is provably like uh, unconstitutional or the equivalent in the Italian litigation field um, for you to appeal this decision. So it's probably not getting appealed. So what are the actual results from this point deduction? Agnelli, the former sports director, was banned for 2 seasons. Patrici, who is now with Spurs, was banned for 2.5. So now it's not just affecting the current players or the current organization of Juventus, but also players and members of the organization who have already left. Now, why is this the case? Well, because this isn't just, it hasn't just been extended to FIFA and UEFA based on the organization side, but it turns out the reason why I think this has been brought to court again is not just because of sort of everything that's been going on in terms of corruption with Juventus, because I think we all know that's been happening for a while. But it's because of two reasons. It's because, again, sort of the Super League stuff I talked about, but also in general, it turns out this is like a pretty big conspiracy. So this is where we'll go ahead and get into the player side. Uh, Now, basically, due to deferred payments during COVID, which certain players were, never recorded on the books right before they left. So, for example, players like Kulisevsky, Dybala, Cristiano Ronaldo, Bentancur, basically these guys made agreements right before they left that, hey, look, I know y'all are doing like weird stuff with money, whatever. If y'all want to just like pay me later and just act like and just write on the books that you paid me the accurate amount in my contract before I left, just please do that. Just please do that so I can just please leave, your messy organization, your messy club. Just please let me go. Like I would do anything, whatever. Turns out a Juventus club giant, a superstar, um, had a little bit of something to say about that. Now let me go pull that up on the screen for you. Yeah, so here it is. This is what I was talking about in terms of this Chiellini message he left on WhatsApp. So basically, he left a message telling other Juventus players, specifically, he told, I believe it was a Kulisevsky, um, basically, hey, sort of the agreements that we're making, sort of these backdoor agreements we're making. Don't talk in interviews. Don't talk to anybody about what we're doing because, as far as I'm concerned, everything Patrici is up to is very, very shady. And he left this. I think this is a WhatsApp group message. So this is to everybody in the Juventus squad, right? But he specifically, I think the person who came out was specifically Kulisevsky. So that's interesting. Kulisevsky was sort of the golden snitch, if you will, in this situation. But that being said, moving forward, so what was to come of this? Well, superstar players like Cristiano Ronaldo, Dybala can now be held accountable for this because they were aware of what was happening. So this means Cristiano Ronaldo, Dybala, these players could be suspended according to the Italian literature or legislature. They could be suspended for up to 30 days. And this is according to official sites, good sources. I should not include that. But so these players could be suspended for up to 30 days, guys, according to these Italian courts. This is serious stuff. This is very serious stuff. Um, as far as some other members of the organization, besides Patrici being banned for 2.5 seasons, not much else came out of it outside of Pavel Nedved was given 8 months. Cherubini, who was banned for 16 months. It's just in general, uh, sort of outside of the new Juventus CEO, the old Juventus CEO, or excuse me, sporting director. Um, the only really other guy of importance was uh, Patrici, who had a big part in this outside of in terms of members, not talking players. Uh, but yeah, man, this especially guys, if you look at, and I'll put this up on the screen in a second, the list of 23 players who have been suspended. All right, guys, so here's the list. So as you guys can see, you got Bentancur, Bernardeschi, Bonici, Buffon, Chiellini, Quadrado. Um, yikes. So, I mean, this is just like Delit, Desligio, Demiral, Douglas Costa, Higuain, and there you go, Janik right there. who that's why I was that was my main example. Even all the way back to Matuidi, guys. Like they've got a lot going on. Szczesny, I'm not sure how you pronounce the name, but these are like major players in most of their entire squad, and of course Cristiano Ronaldo, guys. Just so you guys know, it wasn't clickbait. It's right there, um, listed in the literature. I mean, this is bad. This is really bad. Okay, so moving forward, sort of what's next. So with this ban of all the members, of all the players, moving forward, what happens? What do we make of this? So I think in general, Juventus deserve to be held accountable. Um, but do we really blame the players in this situation, or how much fault do we give the players? I don't know. I think 30 days, it might be a little bit harsh, but we'll see what comes out of that. I'm sure, however, the players might not have to go through as long of a process, maybe to fight this appeal, but I could be wrong. And certainly the situation could be much worse than it turned out to be. But to address sort of the outcome now that we've addressed the outcome, I'll just quickly go over the feedback and I'll wrap this one up for y'all guys. In terms of looking at like some of the tweets, especially some of the tweets that I put up on the screen earlier, kind of making a mockery out of the Juventini. I think the majority of Juventus fans probably know that their club has been sort of up to no good, as of late or as of a long time. But they'll make excuses and they'll say, well, other clubs have been bad. But I think what we're finding out is no. This is much worse than typical Italian club stuff. This is a conspiracy. this is everybody's in on it. The members, the board, the players, everybody's sort of in on it. And it's very bad. So I think in general, addressing the feedback, no, I don't think this is Serie A specifically getting Juventus just because they hate the Juventini. They're all secret Milan fans or secret Inter fans. No, I think this is just because in general. However, I will say they are picking on Juventus. That's true. They are picking on Juventus. But that is because in general, I think we're reaching a time now with the Super League where moving forward, you just can't have these giant super clubs being, super corrupt and messing around with financial fair play. They want to make it equal ground for everyone. Therefore, once everyone has a fair ground to compete, there will be in their mind, no need for the Super League. But is that actually the case? That makes for my next long form video, which I will be coming out with, which is to be or to not to be, talking about the Super League. And also look for some more short form content about ranking of the leagues, as well as I would love to get in some reaction videos. However, I know realistically I got a lot of job stuff going on right now. So I don't know about too much in the terms of reaction content right now, but definitely look for a more short content video as well as some more long form content videos coming through. I'm trying to make at least one long content video per month, and it would be nice if I can do one short one per week. But yeah, that's just about it. That's a wrap, and thank you for tuning in. Leave a like if you liked it. Leave a dislike if you didn't. It's Inter United.